What's up you guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little comparison between Lucid and NIO and whether Lucid right now should have a market cap of about $7 billion more than NIO. But before we actually get into the video, for those of you who are new here, my name is Evan and I make videos that show you guys different ways of making money in the stock market. So if that interests you guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss when I upload. Also, if you guys wouldn't mind going down and hitting the like button, I would really appreciate it and it really helps out the channel. Now with that aside, I want to show you guys where Lucid and NIO are trading right now, and they're both actually in the green today. Lucid right now is at about 28.57 and they're up about 4%. Now they're actually looking pretty good because they've had green days 2 days in a row here, and a lot of this has to do with both the earnings coming up for Lucid as well as actually the Super Bowl, which I don't think many people took into consideration when looking at electric vehicle stocks. But if you guys watched the Super Bowl, you know there was a lot of commercials about electric vehicles that are being released, and there was quite a few well-known brands including Ford, Chevy, and I believe BMW and maybe some others that released new electric vehicles. And so this really is propping up a lot of electric vehicle stocks, not just specific to the ones that were announced in the commercials. Now if we take a look at NIO, they're also up today and they're actually in the green even more, almost climbing up towards 8% today, and they're trading at 25.55 right now. And if we take a look at the past week of NIO, they've had a relatively rough week aside from the last 2 trading days because they were on a downward trend until that reversed yesterday and especially into today. And I guess I didn't show you guys the 1 week chart on Lucid, but as you can see here, they were trading pretty flat. Then they had a pretty big dip on the 11th and they actually pulled down below $26. Now I'm sure most of you guys know that $26 for Lucid has been a support line for quite a while. And it looks like they bounced off that as we expected, and now they're trading pretty flat right around $28.50. The next resistance for Lucid is going to be around that $30 mark, and we've seen Lucid climb up to that and then pull back, and they've been bouncing around $26 to $30 here for quite a while. So now that you guys are all caught up on both NIO and Lucid, I want to go over some reasons why maybe Lucid shouldn't be worth $7 billion more than NIO. And I'm also going to give some reasons why I think they could be. And so as of right now, Lucid has a value of about $47.05 billion. And that is almost $7 billion more than NIO. And in comparison to the smallest company by market cap in the S&P 500, which is Nielsen Holdings, they're actually slightly more than this company. Now that's just to give you guys some perspective of where they're trading. But moving on to the valuation and the metrics of both Lucid and NIO, Lucid only has $4.4 million in sales for the trailing 12 months, which ended on September 30th of 2021. And according to the S&P Capital IQ, the current price to sales ratio isn't really relevant for Lucid, but if you care to know, they're at 9,750x. And I think it's pretty obvious that that would not put them in value territory at all. Well, if we compare them to NIO, they actually trade at 7.04 times their sales. But again, that's not really a relevant comparison. To make a fair comparison, you actually have to use the price to book. And Lucid right now currently trades at 12.8x the price to book ratio, where NIO's price to book is 9.86. And that's about 23% less than Lucid. Now there have been some pretty big things that have happened for Lucid over the past year or so, because through their first 9 months of the fiscal year of 2021, they actually lost $1.5 billion. And then the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which owned about 63% of the stock at the time, was actually willing to double down on their bet. And this included building a Lucid plant in the Middle East. But I think at the time, with the Sovereign Wealth Fund willing to double down and wanting to build that Lucid plant, it did get a lot of investors excited, and it showed that there is a big picture for Lucid and they're not just going to be some small electric vehicle company. Now once these plans actually become official, if the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund doesn't change their mind before 2025 or 2026, Lucid is likely to move higher regardless of how much money they end up losing. Now this is probably going to hold true for a while, but the fact that NIO is so much further along in their development, I think that suggests that NIO could have a higher valuation right now as compared to Lucid. Now one negative thing that happened to NIO about 2 years ago was they actually had to cut a deal with the government in April of 2020, and this was to allow them to obtain $1 billion in finances, basically to keep the lights on. Now another positive for NIO is that they've actually proven that they can sell 4 different models with a 5th on the way, which is the ET5, and it's expected to begin deliveries in September of this year. Now compared to Lucid, they're currently ramping up their first vehicles production. They do have plans to deliver 20,000 vehicles in 2022, And while the sales price of these vehicles is a lot higher than NIO's, NIO does have a big head start both in the Chinese market as well as in Norway. And NIO is also targeting a much more broad market where their vehicles are more accessible to a greater audience. Now, you could make the argument that most people buying electric vehicles right now are in the top 1 to 2% of income. And I believe it's been stated that people buying electric vehicles have an average household income of $140,000. And that's the income here in the US. And so with Lucid's vehicle price being around that $70,000 to $80,000 price, it kind of makes you think that maybe people are going to buy a Lucid vehicle over other electric vehicles because it's really only that 1 and 2% of people with the highest incomes that are actually buying electric vehicles. So for them, it may not really make much of a difference to buy a $50,000 vehicle versus a $70,000 vehicle. The major difference is the audience that both companies are targeting. Lucid is here in the US, where the average household income to buy an electric vehicle is $140,000. Now, I'm not sure how that compares to China, but I know that NIO's vehicles are more affordable. Now, it's not like they're some budget vehicle because they still are very sought after, but it begs the question of whether NIO could be way more successful, especially because they have a bigger audience in China. Now, it's also worth noting that Lucid has an estimate for 2023 of 90,000 vehicles produced. Now, if they actually hit that goal, their market cap is going to be way through the roof if you compare it to right now and what they're trading for right now. So at some point they have to kind of level out, and they're not going to see this huge increase, especially as they produce that many vehicles. I think that's what we're starting to see with NIO and what we've seen over the last 6 months to the last year. While I've said before that NIO is more of a long-term play, I think it was pretty obvious when they were trading above $60 and around that range that they're probably going to have a pretty major pullback. I do think within the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to see some pretty substantial gains. But I think on the other hand, Lucid is also going to see those big gains, especially as they start producing more vehicles and as they do more marketing to get their vehicles out and get more eyes on their company. Now, I want to go back to the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which currently holds $38.6 billion worth of Lucid. And that was based on the end of 2021, according to an SEC filing. And the value of the position was up from $25.8 billion. Shares of Lucid have fallen more than 20% since December 31st, which has reduced the current value of the stake that the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund holds. Now, they do still hold a 62% stake in Lucid, and this was after originally investing more than $1 billion in the company in 2018, and then boosting their investment in February of last year. But they don't hold a lot of large positions in other major companies. One of their other big positions is in Uber, but other than that, they don't have major positions in other electric vehicle stocks specifically. So I think from an investing standpoint, this seems like a positive thing, because Lucid is the only electric vehicle stock, and then Uber being another automotive stock. But I think it can give you confidence if you're invested in Lucid, because it's almost like they're putting all their eggs in one basket with how much they actually own of Lucid. Now, on the other hand, when we look at NIO, they're actually backed by the Chinese government, and the Chinese government doesn't want electric vehicle stocks to fail. And we can see that based on the fact that they got $1 billion in 2020. But that's another thing that could be pretty controversial. You know that the government's not going to let a company like NIO fail, but that could also mean that the business could go down the drain, and then the government is going to continue supporting them. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that that's a possibility, and you never know how far the government could continue supporting a company like this. So I think one of the big things that it comes down to is mostly where these companies are headquartered. Lucid being in the US and NIO is headquartered in China. They both have totally separate markets that they're targeting, but for a lot of people, it actually comes down to where these companies are at. I think a lot of people would choose to invest in Lucid over NIO because they're in China. But on the other hand, I think a lot of people would invest in NIO because they have a much broader market and they have more market potential. Now, I want to hear what you guys think down in the comments and whether you think Lucid should have a higher market cap right now than NIO. And if you think NIO should have a higher market cap, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like because it really does help out the channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.